I now hand the conference over to Mr. Srinivasan N, Chief Financial Officer of Sharda Motor Industries Limited. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Rutuja. Good evening to all. I extend a warm and hearty welcome to all the participants on behalf of Sharda Motor Industries Limited. It gives us great pleasure to host this first ever earnings call for Sharda Motors. Today, along with me, I have Mr. Ashim Relan, our Chief Executive Officer, and as well Strategic Growth Advisors, our Investor Relations, present on this call. I hope you and your loved ones are safe in the current pandemic environment. Before I start highlighting the performance for the quarter, I would like to thank all the colleagues in our plants and offices who worked very diligently and with utmost care by taking all precautions to resist the pandemic and for creating a very safe work environment in the factories and for our customers. I would also like to thank all our supply partners in the back end who helped us to cope with this challenging situation. And I also like to thank the analysts, the investors, all of you who have been our well-wishers and the ones keep challenging us on the most important things that we should continue to deliver and focus. Now, just to quickly introduce myself, I'm the CFO of Sharda Motor Industries, and I joined the organization in February 2021. We have uploaded our financial results on the stock exchange as well as the company website, and I hope you would have referred the same. In terms of the investor presentation, we have already uploaded during our annual results, and shortly we will be updating the revised presentation for the Q1 also on the stock exchange. To start, I will briefly take you through the business landscape and key highlights of the financial performance, and post that we will open the Q&A session. We will try to answer all the questions raised during this call. To start with the business landscape, as everyone is aware, we witnessed the second wave of COVID in Q1, and the lockdown restrictions were kind of more local and accommodative, unlike the national lockdown, where the industrial activity was had come to a halt last year, whereas this year it was not that way. The impact was particularly high in May 21. However, the recovery that began after June was rapid. Automobile sales, retail sales in India came back strongly in July, and it continues to do so in the month of August with the opening of dealerships across the country as COVID-led restrictions were eased in the affected states. Commercial vehicles is also noticing a gradual recovery, albeit on a low base. Coming to Sharda Motor Industries, I am sure you would have gone through our investor presentation, but just to highlight few key aspects. We have 5 verticals, and the recent one was announced in the board meeting held on 23rd June, which marked our entry into the electric vehicle segment. There we will be into assembly of lithium batteries for 2 and 3 wheelers. Other verticals are exhaust system, suspension and stamping, roof system and supply chain management. Established in 1986, today the company has 9 manufacturing units including the JV plants, 3 sales offices and 1 world-class R&D center, and we are fully backward integrated. Our plants are strategically located all over India, north, west and south, near the auto clusters. In case of exhaust system, we have 30% share in the Indian PV market, catering to almost all large OEMs except Maruti. As a backward integration step, we also have 3 stamping plants, managing all the critical stamping in-house, and 2 tube mills producing stainless steel and aluminum steel tubes for exhaust systems. Further, on the suspension segment, we have market share of 10%, and we have 2 manufacturing units at Nashik and Pune for manufacturing of suspensions. Our R&D center, which is located at Mahindra World City, Chennai, is one of the most unique R&D centers in India, and our international partners and other large players are delighted when they visit to notice the scale and capabilities of our R&D center. So high-end technology requirement is one of the key entry barriers for new players, which Sharda Motor has developed over the last decade. And further, our operational efficiencies are boosted due to full backward integration of our processes. On our asset efficiency and manufacturing infrastructure, our current capacity utilization is around 80%, and further capex requirement is only incremental in nature with high cash generation ability. We have all our manufacturing setup already in place. Further, our growth strategy is backed by the legislation tailwind and on capitalizing on Everspatial JV and implementation of BS6 emission norms. We have also entered the EV segment now and are exploring high margin export markets also for subcomponents. On the financial front, we remain debt free with about 263 crores of surplus cash. All our further expansions are intended to be funded by internal accruals while maintaining the cash surplus position. Now I move on to the financial performance for Q1. As you all are aware, the Q1 quarter was affected by second wave of COVID and the related restrictions, which had an impact on our revenue number. So our consolidated revenue from operations for the quarter was 472 crores, which is a growth of 355% versus the Q1 of last year. Although the last year's first quarter was affected by COVID, it's a significant growth. Further, on a sequential basis compared to Q4 of financial year 21, we were lower by 22% on the revenue side. On the positive note, our EBITDA margins, including other income, for the quarter was 9.8% as compared to 9.6% in Q4 of financial year 21. And of course, the margins for Q1 of last year were negative 4.3% due to the impact of lockdowns. Despite this impact, during the first quarter of this year, our PBT margin rose to 7.7% as against the Q4 of 7.4% and negative 12.5% in the previous year. This was possible with constant focus on costs and performance improvement plans that we have implemented in our company. During the quarter, the share of JV and associates, share of loss of JV and associates was 2.4 crore versus 7 crores in Q4. Our consolidated profit after tax for the quarter was at 24.3 crores as compared to a loss of 11 crores in the last year first quarter and 26.4 crores in Q4 of 21. The numbers for the later part of Q1 financial 22 were encouraging, and it continues to the current quarter, as is evident from the growing auto numbers in the month of July and early August. Before opening the floor for Q&A, I would like to draw your attention to the fact that we have a cost component which is bought out, and this distorts the margins, and the margins are not comparable to that extent. With this, I would like to open the floor for questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Karthikeyan from Suresh Advisors. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening. I hope I am audible.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so first is, can you share the split of revenues between catalyst and manufactured component?
So we will not be able to share the breakdown of the value-added revenue without catalyst because we have some restrictions to the customers. So we discuss on a total basis.
Fair. The gross margin improved. Is that to assume, is one to infer that the share of manufactured piece, value-added piece was higher in this quarter on a proportionate basis, on a percentage basis?
It is not really proportional the way, whenever the value-added goes up, the margin goes up. It was not due to that. It is basically the cost actions that we take at the back end and, focus on the material cost that helps the margin.
Right. If I may ask you one more question on the subsidiary or the joint venture rather with Eberspacher, there has been a very sharp improvement in terms of the profitability or the reduction in loss. So can you talk about the revenue scale-up that has been seen over there?
So the revenue was also affected in case of Aerospatiale JV in the quarter one. It was 41 crore compared to the annual turnover of 150 crore in the previous year. However, we have started taking a lot of optimizing actions, and that's why we are looking for a break even during the current year.
Interesting. Sure. Sure. Thank you. I'll get back into and come back if possible.
Sure.
Thank you. Reminder to the participants, to ask a question, please press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Viraj from Securities Investment Management. Please go ahead. Mr. Viraj, please go ahead with your question. Your line is unmuted. May we request you, Mr. Viraj, to unmute yourself if muted from your handset. As there is no response from the line,
Hello.
we'll move to the next. Sorry for that. Please give me a moment. Mr. Viraj, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity. I just have a couple of questions. First on the JV, just from an understanding perspective, since the JV is primarily for the CV space, post BS6, implementation, how is the order win or the win rate been? Any perspective you can share on that? Because I think by now OEs would have already decided and awarded, the order book for, the vendors for the exhaust systems. So for us, how is that win rate in overall scheme of things? How is that market share been? So that is one. Hello?
Sure. So maybe I'll take the question. This is Ashim this side. Regarding the JV win rate, from BS6, we already have 16% market share, and our first plant has already been running for the last 1 year. And now as we speak, our second plant has also started production, and we have 2 customers established in the CV industry. Now the next, bidding for further programs is for 2023, where it goes into BS6 RDE norms. And as of now, we are in discussion with 2 more customers into the CV market for possible penetration. But the results on the bidding will probably be clearer towards the end of the year.
Okay. And typically, what we understand is once a vendor is selected for a BS6 phase 1, the continuity of that particular vendor for phase 2, it's quite high, the chances of that being. So when we saying we're looking to add 2 new customers, what is aiding this particular, confidence, or any perspective you can share on that?
Yeah. So, the way the commercial vehicle emissions market is, that prior to our JV with Ebus Parker, there was largely only 2 suppliers in the market. And one of the suppliers, who is our competition, has substantial market share. And with that, they are, the OEMs are looking to de-risk from that competitor of ours. So that is aiding or helping us gain some market share. And second, Ebus Parker has the best technology in the world when it comes to exhaust systems or emission systems for commercial vehicles. And that is evident from the market share that they hold in Europe, which is 75%, and in America, which is 50%. So this new technology availability to the customer is also helping us to gain some business. But of course, we are at the stage of bidding right now, and the outcomes of the development work will only be known towards the end of the year for
okay.
But we are very optimistic.
Got it. Just two more questions on the JV again. So the focus initial years would probably be on the domestic market, or is there any arrangement where we would be also be the JV may also be a manufacturing subsidiary for Eversparker's global requirement, either be in Europe or US, or new market entries like Asia Pacific?
Sure. So right now, phase one of the joint venture is domestic, but overall goal is to synergize in other markets and in other areas. And we will see some positive developments in that as we move forward in the next couple of years. But phase one is the domestic CV market, but definitely there are plans to expand that further into few of the areas that you mentioned.
Okay. And just last question was on the export opportunity. So we mentioned about our ambitions to capitalize on subcomponents and sub-assemblies in export arena. So what are these parts or systems which we are talking about? And typically what we understand, in any export breakthrough is at least a 5 to 7 year game. I mean, you kind of engage with the OE, will be a part of the product development life cycle, and then you see some success eventually. So where are we in that whole life cycle right now?
Sure. So there are two large aspects of exports which we are targeting right now. One is the subcomponent market, which is proprietary stampings and some other subcomponents which go into exhaust systems. We are already manufacturing them in India because, we are a very backward integrated company. And we are adding to our backward integration by adding one or two proprietary stamping items as well, which we will be aiming at the export market. So for these products, the business development cycle is way shorter. It's usually only 1 year or 2 years, not the traditional 5-6 years which it takes with the OEM. So we are already begun that cycle. So we are hoping for some good results in the next 1 to 2 years that come from this segment. And then the second segment that we are targeting is the small engine / off-road export opportunity, where we will be doing the emission systems for small gensets and other small engine applications. That already contributes to a small part of our sales. I think about 5 to 8% of our sales are already coming from that segment, and we are very hopeful to be increasing that as we go through in the next 2 to 3 years. So in both these segments, it is not the traditional 6 year penetration cycle, which it would be in case we were going for supplies directly to OEMs. Here, our target customers for subcomponents will be the tier 1 customers. And for the off-road / small segment market, it is more the genset makers and the small engine companies, which is a different segment and a different business development cycle.
Okay, just one follow-up on this. So what is the kind of opportunity size we would be looking at, either with regards to own proprietary items in stamping or in exhaust or other, components which we're looking at? So what is the overall opportunity size? And since we'll be looking at a much more shorter, development cycle and scale up, who will be competing with, or whom are we replacing in export market? So any perspective on that? Thank you.
Sure. So in terms of opportunity, size is very large, so it's much larger than the entire Indian market altogether, which we are playing in right now. So there's not probably a number that we'll put on it, because the number is so large when we look at the overall market, and we are only looking to capture some percentage market share. In terms of competition, in the small subcomponent market, there are, some smaller tier 2 companies out of China and India, as well as some local suppliers in Europe and America that we'll be competing with. And when it comes to the small engine market, it is a very fragmented market. So there are numerous competitors, but there is not one large competitor in that field as well. So in general, both the markets which we'll be now aiming at globally are fragmented markets. For subcomponents, it's more based out of China and some of these Indian smaller tier 2 suppliers. And for the small engine exhaust market, There are some local companies in America, Europe, and maybe one in China as well.
Okay, I'll come back in queue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Participants, to ask a question, please press star and one now. The next question is from the line of Parag Shah from SS Securities. Please go ahead.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir, please go ahead. Your line is unmuted.
Thank you for giving an opportunity. I have a couple of questions. What is the revenue breakup for major segments? How it has evolved overall over the last few years, and going forward, which would be the major growth segment and market that you would be focusing on?
Maybe I'll take the question on the breakup. So we are about 86% on the exhaust manufacturing, about 5% on the suspension, about 2% on the SCM, and about 6% on the genset, and the rest are very minimal. So that's how we have evolved, and our major contribution comes from the exhaust manufacturing.
And over the last 3-4 years, it has how the trend has been?
So largely similar, and we have been focusing now on the commercial vehicles within exhaust, and also improving our tractor and genset business within the exhaust. And the suspension is on a steady growth.
So over a period of time, you are expecting that exhaust business will grow primarily because of your commercial vehicle and tractor business, correct?
Added to that, the legislations.
So maybe I'll take the future part of it. The future part where we are looking to focus now within the exhaust system business, there is the passenger car segment that we've been playing in for the last 3 to 5 years. So what's new is that our mix now includes commercial vehicles as well. So when this 80% number that Srini-san has shared, that has a good portion of CV that has come in as well. As we go forward, within the emission segment, we will continue to play in passenger vehicle domestic. We will continue to play in commercial vehicle domestic. What will be new is that there are legislations that are coming in, which is shown in our investor presentation, which emissionize the tractor market and the off-highway market. So when we look into 2022 and 2024, the entire tractor, off-road and construction equipment market will also require our products. So we will be focusing on that as well when it comes to the domestic segment. When we look at the emissions international segment, our focus will be on the subcomponent exports as well as on smaller engines and smaller tractors, which I was mentioning in the prior question. And these will largely be the areas of focus when it comes to exhaust systems. Now, the beauty of it is that while there are many market segments that I've mentioned, the base product is almost the same, and it is very modular in nature. So we will be able to utilize the same products across various segments. In addition to that, now we have started our EV vertical, and a good amount of our focus is to build a EV vertical in the next 4 to 5 years as well, and that will also be a key area to focus on.
Okay, so can you explain the petrol versus diesel mix in your portfolio? How does it impact the business and the exhaust side?
Sorry, I missed your voice.
So can you explain the mix between the petrol and diesel in your portfolio? How does that impact the business on the exhaust side of the business?
So yeah, largely diesel and petrol are largely the same when we look at the emission plus NVH part of it. So in a gasoline car, the emission requirement is slightly less, but then the NVH requirement is slightly more. And when we look at a diesel car, the emission requirement is more, but the NVH requirement is less. In terms of our split, it's fairly balanced, but most of our diesel products go into commercial vehicles, and these are commercial vehicles which are also on the smaller segment. So there is these 1.5 liter, 2 liter engines which also require diesel engines, and then of course the bigger engines which have diesel in it. And pass cars is largely gasoline, barring maybe one or maybe two models.
Okay. And how much is our content per vehicle, and how it will change with the regulation going forward?
Sure. At this point, we are not giving content per vehicle numbers, but we are giving just as a guidance percentage that for tractors, currently the content is zero because tractors do not require our product. As we go forward, a tractor would require a very similar product to what commercial vehicles require. So it's going to be, a substantial jump when it comes to the tractor and off-road market. When we look at pass cars in gasoline and diesel, in gasoline there'll be a 10 to 15% jump. In the case of diesel, there will be approximately a 25% jump. And that diesel aspect also goes into smaller commercial vehicle diesel engines.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you so much.
So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, to ask a question, please press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Anil Sarin from Centrum Wealth Management. Please go ahead.
Good evening. I had a question regarding the first quarter revenue. It's quite low relative to the fourth quarter revenue. So is it a seasonal factor, or there were some shutdowns or whatever, the second wave impact? Or if you can enlighten me on that.
Yes. So it is, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, it is mainly due to the second wave impact, where the plants in Maharashtra were shut down for a couple of weeks, and also in Chennai there was an impact of 2-3 weeks. So that had an impact on our revenue, mainly in the month of May 21, and that's why we are relatively lower compared to Q4 of last year.
So can we prorate that this is a 2-month revenue, and then third month had all 3 months been okay, then this would have become 2 divided by 2 multiplied by 3. That would have been the revenue?
Not really, because May it was not a complete lockdown. So we had a partial impact. So we would have been similar to Q4 of last year in case there was no impact.
I have a follow-up question. CVs, when did this enhanced requirements, when did they actually kick in? And has it started really impacting your numbers, or that impact meaning the positive impact, revenue accretive impact, is yet to happen as more CVs sort of sell? So I have 2 questions. One is, it started from April of 2020, right? And the second is that, is it reflecting in your numbers, or the large sales of CV are yet to happen, and when they do happen, it will start reflecting in your numbers?
Sure. So maybe I'll take that. So yeah, so that's quite true that since the norms have started, which was 1st April 2020, CV sales have been fairly low. And our joint venture has also been new. It only started in 2019. So right now it is not reflecting on our numbers. And as we move forward and as we see resumption of normalized CV sales, as well as we see our joint venture maturing, then it will start showing up in the numbers. So the numbers which we are looking at right now don't really reflect the benefits that are to come from the CV market for us. And this is the CV market above 2.5 liter engines. For the smaller CVs, we are seeing benefits already. This is the larger commercial vehicles above 2.5 liters, which falls in our joint venture.
Okay. So while the losses have reduced, there would be fresh set of losses because of the commercialization of the manufacturing plant, because you're not utilizing that immediately to the full extent. So, do you take both the things? I mean, self-manufacturing and selling of a higher priced, more than 2-liter engine, combine it together. If you can throw some light at what this JV can add, what kind of revenue, and would it have equivalent margins, higher or lower than the standalone entity?
Yeah. So the joint venture at its maturity, that means it will take some time to come to maturity. It's fairly new. Will have equivalent margins to the standalone entity. And in terms of potential, it has revenue potential in phase one for the domestic commercial vehicle market, and then it has lot of added synergies, which was asked in one of the questions before. As Ebus Parker is a very large company, it's 5 billion euros in sales, and its presence in the Asia market is fairly low. So definitely in the longer term, we see good synergies in addition to the domestic CV market.
Okay. So assuming, you have a certain, market share and you have certain clients. So assuming that, CV sales do, as expected, do pick up at a reasonable kind of a run rate, what revenue can be achieved out of JV, not taking into account the export potential?
Sure. I think as of now, we are not, disclosing any number as such, but maybe Srini-san, if you have some indicator, you can share.
No, so we don't have the firmed up number, but we are looking at almost doubling the revenue in the next 1.5 years in the JV.
So doubling from what level? Currently the JV would have almost...
Last year we did 150 crores in the JV.
Okay. So you're saying as situation normalizes and you build up certain volumes, you can look at a 300 crore kind of a revenue basis the domestic opportunity.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. I have just one last question. Is that there are two major CV manufacturers. Are you in India, that is? Are you with both? Are you with one, or are you with other than these two CV manufacturers?
Sure. So, without, as we are not allowed to take names, without taking the names, that we are with both. One of them, the engine manufacturing is done through a joint venture of theirs. So we supply to their joint venture or the joint venture partner. And for the other, we are supplying directly. So we have both directly/indirectly as our customers.
And you are single source, or it is divided between multiple suppliers?
We are not single. No, it's divided between two suppliers, you can say. Yeah.
Okay. And so going forward, it will be basis cost, efficiency, service, etc., that the shares can be split either in your favor or in the favor of the competitors.
Yeah, and the way the products are, they're more, engine linked. So for the engines that we supply, we are the single source. For the engines which our competition supplies, they are the single source. So it's not that they can switch over between engines. So it's more about, how the engines sell on the market, as well as in the medium term, the better performing supplier and with more technology will be given more development for future engines.
If I may ask, a follow-up, in terms of engines that you supply to, are these the dominant selling engines, or these are the less than dominant selling engines for your OEs, both the OEs?
It's hard to, in this way, it's hard to answer it, but let's say that they are balanced. They're balanced. It's hard to say dominant, not dominant, just the way it is, configured right now. But yeah, they're balanced. And we do have both the top two CV customers in India already.
So I think that's a very good position to be in, that you have both, which means basically you're taking care of 3/4 of the Indian CV population. And within that, you have roughly, I mean, if it is balanced, so roughly 50% would be the kind of a share, assuming both the engines sell at similar levels and beyond a certain literage or with beyond a certain size. Would that be a fair categorization?
Yeah, I think so. And below that literage, we anyways supply, but that we do as a standalone company.
But and over there also it will be equally divided, that certain engines go to X and certain engines go to Y?
Yeah, it's very similar in the other case also. And in the other case, the market is split up differently, right? So above 3 liters, the customers, there are 2 dominant customers. And below 3 liters in the CV market, there are 2 dominant customers, but they're not the same. And yeah, we have below 3 liters also, both customer 1 and customer 2 in terms of market share.
And if you were to, without getting into the numbers, what is the relation of a above 3 liter engine exhaust system compared to the, let's say, 2 liter engine? I mean, if one of them, the lesser engine capacity costs you 100 rupees, the above 3 liter would be what? 300 rupees or
double or slightly more than double.
Okay. So it's in your interest that the higher capacity trucks sell a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
That works for you.
Definitely.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question, please press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Sonal Kohli from Bowhead. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity and congratulations on good set of numbers in difficult times. I have broadly 3 queries. I'll ask them one by one. Assuming that you go back to your normal revenue run rate, what you were, making in Q4, and some of the efficiencies you achieved, is it fair to assume that your profitability will improve significantly? That is my first question.
Maybe Srini-san?
Mr. Sonal, I think I lost your voice in between. Can you please repeat?
So, you said there was disruption obviously due to wave 2, and assuming you go back to your revenue run rate of Q4, and the fact that you've taken several initiatives on the cost side, which you mentioned about, is it fair to assume that when you go back to your revenue run rate of Q4, whenever that happens, your profits would be much better in future as compared to the Q4 of 2020?
Yes. So we have taken on from the run rate we achieved in the last year, and any incremental actions are going to add up to our margin. Assuming that the mix does not change much. If there is a change in the mix, that may have an impact on the profitability. Otherwise, we are on a right track to grow our margins as we improve our volumes.
And when do you expect to get into that revenue run rate? Would that be possible in Q2 or Q3? Is it more likely?
I would say it's anybody's guess, because we are recovering now from the second wave, and there are talks around the third wave. So assuming there is no further disruption, I think yes, we would reach that stage very fast.
Okay. So my next 2 questions were on the the tractor market and the CV market, the larger CV market. So what is the size of the tractor market once all these regulations come in as compared to the car market? So if you don't want to give us a absolute number, maybe a per vehicle number or just a relative number to the car market would serve a purpose.
Yeah. So maybe I'll take that question. Just to give a relative number, and that's what makes the growth opportunity very exciting, that the passenger vehicle exhaust market, the size that it is today, the same size exactly is the commercial vehicle market, right, which is the higher commercial vehicle market. And then the tractor market is also exactly the same size as the commercial vehicle and passenger car market. So our addressable market share domestically is substantially going to increase as a result of that. Because what we are doing right now in PV, That exact same market size is already available in CV. We've started to capture a little bit of that with our joint venture, and we hope to expand on that. And with the new legislation that is coming up for the emissions of off-highway, the tractor market will be equal to commercial vehicles or even maybe larger, even larger. So the overall addressable market share or market size for us is substantially going to grow in the next 4 years, domestic alone, right? And then, of course, there's the export opportunity.
Okay, that's great. And secondly, is my understanding correct that while car is a 3-player market, the tractor is a 2-player market, and your market share in tractors could presumably be much higher than the car market, where you are at 30%?
Yes. So we expect to have a good market share in tractors and better. Our target is definitely to better on our market share of passenger vehicles. And competition intensity is lower in tractors and commercial vehicles because there are largely only 3 companies in probably the world also, you can say, that have the technology to meet the emission norms of commercial vehicles and tractors which are coming in.
But in India, is tractor a 2-player market? What is CV, which is a 3-player market?
Yeah, so I would say CV would be a 3-player market and tractor would also be a 2 or 3-player market. It depends on the choice of one of the competitors, but largely it is a 2 to 3-player market, CV and PV. 3-player would be a fair assessment for both the markets. And the systems are very similar. They are CV and tractor systems, exhaust systems are very similar. It's just a different configuration. And technology is also very similar.
And so you said this market size is equivalent to the car market size in India, right?
Yes.
Or even more than
That's
that.
what makes it very interesting because I think the prior person had asked, that the value of the product is much higher when it comes to tractor and bigger commercial vehicles. So that price into quantity makes the value of all 3 markets equivalent. So it's almost, 2 passenger vehicle markets are set to come in into India when it comes to this product line.
And sir, as for the CV are concerned, while you did mention, your market share is similar in large, manufacturers as compared to the players, but you broadly said that your overall market share is 15%, and considering these 2 large players are 75% of the market, the numbers don't seem to make sense to me. So what am I missing here? Are you currently, did you mean that currently you are, smaller, but going forward you expect it to be an equal player, or, if you could throw some light on this, that would be very helpful.
Just if you can repeat the question, your voice is a little bit muffled. If you can just repeat the question, please.
My apologies. So, what I meant was that, while answering question of one of the participants, you said that, you are present with both the large players and, you seem to have almost equal share as the other, leading participants, But in the beginning, you mentioned that you had a 15% market share in the CV industry. Now, both the things are inconsistent considering the top 2 players are a very large part of the market. So just trying to understand what is your exact market share, and, because you can't be an equal player in the, the 2 largest players and still have a 15% market share. So when you said you're equal player, did you mean, certain specific parts of the market? And how?
Understood the question. Yeah. So for one, that our new customer addition, which has happened for the CV market, as of this year, we only had 1 customer and we had 1 plant, right? Now our new plant has just started, which is our second plant in the joint venture, and that is for the second customer now. And that will bring in revenues, as the commercial vehicle market expands. And our joint venture being new, right now the volumes are slightly lower, as well as, of course, there is, the pandemic has led to the commercial vehicle market being hit. But yeah, we do expect it to grow. So to clarify that the second customer that we've acquired, the business for that starts this year, not last year. So last year was one customer. Now the second customer has also been acquired, and the plant is ready and just started for them in our joint venture.
And sir, in a steady state, could you go towards a similar market share, let's say 2-3 years down the line in the CV industry as you are in the car industry? You mentioned that your revenues will double. So are you basing this year, at least you expect that, basing that broadly on the CV market growth because the base was very low last year, or also in terms of significant market share increase? So,
we definitely in the medium term expect to be at equivalent or better market share in CV industry than we have in PV. And we are working towards that. And I think on a year-on-year basis, we will see improvement. Already this year, our market share will increase with our second plant coming. And we are very hopeful with the RDE norms to get some more business there, which would, get us to a good level of market share, at least similar to passenger vehicles. But that will take about 2-3 years. And but it is going to be building up as we go towards 2024-25.
And sir, in terms of in addition to technology which you have from your joint venture partner, is there any other advantage like a cost advantage like backward integration or anything else which you have which could aid you in this?
Yeah, so we of course have one is the technology which is world class, which comes from Ebers Parker, as well as we have our own R&D center, which is the only R&D center fully capable of taking concept design all the way to manufacturing, designing, testing, everything put together. Third, we are very backward integrated as a company, which gives us very good cost point when it comes to the end customer. So I think taking these into account, we make a very good value proposition for our customers to give us some additional business as well as to acquire some business.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Chris Kothari from Shinobi Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi. I wanted to get a better sense of your gross margin going ahead. As your sort of addressable market increases and
I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. Kothari. We cannot hear you. Mr. Kothari, we cannot hear you, sir. As there is no response, we'll move to the next question, which is from the line of Karthikeyan from Suyash Advisors. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks again. Two different questions. One is regarding the TREM 4. Couple of things. Are there any wins that you can talk about, or is there an indication of definite business coming through for you? Can you talk about the visibility on that side?
Okay. As of now, we cannot give any firm answer on this, but we are very optimistic on that side, and we already have the top 4 tractor makers in India as our customers because we cater to the export demands. And a lot of the tractors that are exported to Europe, America from India require TREM 4 emission products, and we already make them for the customers in India, and then they put them on the tractors which they're exporting to. In terms of contract wins, right now we are not disclosing anything at this juncture, but we are optimistic, very optimistic on the tractor market.
Correct. The other part of it is that in your standalone entity, you source the catalyst for a lot of your customers. Whereas the joint venture doesn't seem to be booking any revenues from catalyst as of now. I don't know. I'm going by the quantum of revenues, and I'm also assuming it could be because of the joint venture that one of your OEs uses. For the other customer, for example, would it be fair to assume that you may source a part of the catalyst requirement? Just trying to understand the business model there.
Sure. So first, in our joint venture numbers, right now we are working for one customer, and that customer does not require us to source the catalyst. The second customer who we are just going to start working with, or we just started as we speak, they require us to source the catalyst. So the catalyst will start coming up in the joint venture numbers as we move forward. When it comes to the other OEMs, there are some customers of ours who request us to buy the catalyst, and some of them give it to us free of cost. Nevertheless, we don't source the catalyst. It is a directed buy to us, and we just, on a transactional basis, just buy it and pass it through as it goes through our product. So it doesn't have any kind of financial impact to our results.
Right. So the guidance or the broad indication of doubling of revenues by FY23 by the joint venture, that did not include any of the catalyst revenues. Is that correct? This would be entirely value added. Is that correct?
Largely, I think, but maybe Srini, you would have to say if you distinct any catalyst part in it.
No, this assumes the catalyst share also in case of the new customer that just Ashin-san spoke about. So This will have a content of catalyst.
Sure. Thanks so much, and very best wishes again.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Viraj from Securities Investment Management. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity. Just a couple of questions. First is on the JV part. So just from understanding, other than CV, would tractor also be, I mean, we will be looking to cater to the tractor opportunity also from the JV, or that will be in the standalone entity?
Yeah, as of now, it is standalone, but wherever the synergies may lie, we may look at putting some products in the JV. As of now, our business is standalone tractors.
Okay, but the majority part would still remain in standalone in the future, right?
Yeah, as of now, that's the plan. But there is a tractor opportunity globally also, so it's subject to change. As there seems to be a very good opportunity globally in the tractor emission market, but as of now, that is where we are.
Okay. And just a related question is, you talked about phase one where the focus is largely on capitalizing and scaling up the CV opportunity in the JV. So the phase two, the export part, which you kind of alluded to, is that also kind of parallelly going on, or that largely depends on how successful the JV scale-up has been in the domestic market? Any perspective on that? And And what kind of at what level you may see a break-even or a profitability start accruing in the JV, in terms of revenue profile? Any perspective?
Sure. So maybe I'll take the first part, which is the phase one and phase two. Right now, we are focused on phase one, actively looking at other synergies, but as nothing is concrete, so we won't comment on too much on phase two for the time being. But of course, there's no contingency between phase one and phase two in terms of the degree of success of phase one will lead to phase two. But nevertheless, it would be helpful. When it comes to the break-even level of sales, maybe Srini-san, you can touch some light on that. That's what do we expect on the JV?
Yeah, so thank you, Ashin-san. So I think based on the actions that are currently identified, we are looking somewhere around 200 crore plus to reach the break-even, assuming the mix that we are expecting holds true. And of course, the actions that we are taking happen as per plan. So most likely around the Q4 of this financial year, we are expecting to break even.
Okay. Second question is on the export opportunity again. You mentioned that the opportunity is already being catered to by other Indian Chinese players. So one would assume the cost proposition of theirs versus ours would largely be the same. So when we are kind of looking to tap into this, what is the differentiation for us, which is giving us that confidence that we will see a good scale up?
Yeah. So, our initial studies indicate that our cost points are better than competition. The reason for that is that we are efficiently able to start from the R&D of these products, right, which these competitors of ours cannot. So the designs in general have a lower cost structure than competition. And secondly, we have economies of scale when it comes to buying of the raw material that goes into these products, which the smaller players don't have. So one, we definitely see that, we will be able to be better in cost, and this is already visible in the domestic market when we have to choose between insourcing and outsourcing these components. And second, the quality and delivery and the trust that the larger tier ones have on us is probably way higher than some of these smaller competitors which we are looking to consolidate on. So it looks like a very exciting market to play in, but nevertheless, of course, we do expect challenges as well.
Okay, and last question is on the EV JV which we announced recently. So the JV basically, was seen this primarily for the lithium-ion battery pack and for the BMS. Typically when one looks to set up a battery pack assembly, the eventual goal is to also have a battery cell manufacturing, not maybe immediately, but if you have to look at, say, 5 years, 7 years kind of a roadmap, which itself is a very capital intensive business, and the return or the business economics are not really yet established, even at the global majors. So when we are kind of looking to get into this, what is our play in this, any roadmap? Sure. And same as with BMS, you've seen MNCs like Bosch and others also offering BMS as a part of the overall comprehensive solution for EV projects. So just want to understand, where is our capability in that sense?
Sure. So we are this is of course an initial venture which we have recently announced, but just to broadly give the strategy, that our strategy is just to enter EV components via manufacturing of battery packs. So while we will be not manufacturing assembling of battery packs, while we'll be assembling the battery packs for our joint venture partner, who is in itself an OEM and a customer, we will also be exploring the subcomponents that go into that, and we will be cross-selling the subcomponents. Already one subcomponent is under development in our R&D center. Now, in terms of BMS, the BMS that is being utilized in the joint venture is also a very good BMS system, but there is a recognition that there are other players also into BMS. So we really need to see how that plays out. But in general, the strategy is to move into the subcomponent market as a result of coming into this joint venture to assemble the battery packs, and not really to go into capital intensive businesses like manufacturing cells and all that. That is not the intention. So we'll just get into this business and do subcomponents as well as explore what are the strengths. If the BMS does turn out to be a strength, then we will be cross-selling it as well.
But any indication in terms of capital allocation towards this initiative? I mean, if I have to look at next 3-5 years, what kind of capital allocation will you be looking at? So
we don't have a firm number in terms of that, but it is going to be not heavy capital, right? So we are looking, I think the initial numbers are roughly around 20-25 crores. Maybe the initial investment is even less. So in general, this is a very financial friendly kind of a venture. It is not something that we are deploying a large amount of capital in at this phase. But nevertheless, as we do go about the subcomponent part of the business, there would be an increased capital allocation, but it would be remaining to be a very minor capital allocation in the overall realm of things.
Thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Anil Sarin from Centrum Wealth Management. Please go ahead.
Just a data point. What is the market share in passenger vehicles?
Approximately 30%.
So basically, other than Maruti, you have everybody.
No, other than Maruti, our market share is 60%. Because Maruti is 50%. So then we have mostly everyone, maybe one or two customers we don't. But as a market share, we are at 30% full market and 60% ex Maruti.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sonal Kohli from Bowhead. Please go ahead.
Thank you. So, coming back to the EV question which one of the earlier participants had asked, what I wanted to understand is, do you have any plans for any further joint ventures in that, field, and would any of the existing partners, who has partnered with you could help you in that space?
Yes. So, that is exactly the point that we are in talks with other partnerships for subcomponents in the EV space. And our joint venture partner has already entered the EV space in the European and American market. And they have already developed the thermal management system and the battery packs. And we would look forward to have a very similar venture in India with them. As the market develops, the four-wheeler market in India right now is not very developed, but as it develops, definitely our existing partner also has entered into this segment, and we are in talks with other companies on the subcomponent side on playing in the EV space. So broadly, we want to, invest and expand the EV business, and this joint venture which we have announced is only the first step towards our EV vertical. And, as we move through the next couple of months and years, we will announce some more ventures in this space, which would be the subcomponent section into EV.
So these thermal cooling products, if I heard you correctly, you mentioned, right, your joint venture partners provide, is the technology, they have, is it, is it like openly available, or is it something very specific? And that would help you in.
Yeah, so again, it's proprietary. The reason for that is that, one of the products that go into emission systems is an SCR, and SCR requires a very strong thermal management control, and that is something that can be cross-applied to batteries, and all our global competitors are also getting into this product as well as our partner. So it is, let's say, a little bit, it requires technology, which is a synergy with existing exhaust products.
So do you have any specific, what is the per unit value of this product, and how, it may be a little too early to ask you, but some sense, what are the key concerns I think most of the participants on this call would have is that, at some point of time, maybe whether, 10 years, 15 years, and maybe in 5 years, the share would increase, and maybe in, 10, 15 years, the share would become dominant, At that stage, what happens to our car business,
No, absolutely. So I think this product will be equivalent or a little bit higher than our existing content per car into the existing content per car. And what we see is that passenger vehicle, at some point, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now, as it starts increasing, the EV penetration, we will be having, at least the battery pack where we'll be supporting it. And then our other dominant segments like commercial vehicles and now tractors, that, does not seem to be going into EV anytime soon.
Is it globally a joint venture partner, are there any other players which have similar technology? Are there quite a few, or are there only a couple of them which have similar technology?
There are only a couple of them, and they are actually very similar to our competitors in India. All the balance two competitors of us in India, the international companies, they have developed these products globally as well. So it's just a synergy that comes out of the emissions product altogether. So it's again like a 3-4 marketplace globally.
Okay.
But of course, it's very early due to, this is a very fast moving and developing market. So it's very early. These are only indicators. And we are taking it one step at a time. And this JV is our first step into the EV vertical. And we will, of course, be building on it, which we are in talks with many companies.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this was the last question for today. I would now like to hand the conference over to Mr. Srinivasan N for closing comments.
Thank you, Rujita. So I would like to thank the entire participants for a very engaging and interactive session today. Just to summarize our discussion, though we had an impact in quarter one due to the second wave, we see a good momentum going forward, and we will bank upon our operating efficiencies and the technology leadership to achieve expected numbers and a growth during the current year. So with this, I would like to thank you all for joining the call today. Hope we have all been able to address all your queries. And if you have any further queries, we request you to get in touch with SGA, our investor relation advisors, or feel free to get in touch with us. Have a happy and safe festive season ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of Sharda Motor Industries Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.